In this video, we'll discuss how excessive alcohol intake can be seen on the face and what to do to remediate that. Enjoy. I've had a number of people ask me about excess alcohol intake and how do you see that on the face. So sometimes people are asking because they just had a rough night with alcohol. Sometimes they have been drinking alcohol in excess for many years and want to know what to see on the face. Have I done any damage? And what can I do about it? So I want to break this answer down into sort of a two-pronged approach, if you will. So the first one is if you drink alcohol heavily one night, acutely, the next day, typically, most of us know this, you're going to see water retention in the face. The entire face is going to look a bit puffier. Why is this? Alcohol is both water soluble and fat soluble, which means when we drink alcohol, it permeates every tissue and every organ of the body, which is why it's not so great for us. So alcohol also inhibits fat metabolism and fluid metabolism. So what you're seeing that day after, that puffiness of the entire face, is the body is not metabolizing fluid well as it should, and it's holding extra water. So in the acute phase, the thing you can do the following day to sort of get out of that and to repair faster is one, a 24 to 36 hour fast. When we fast for 24 to 36 hours, okay, anytime we fast, we're going to get into some level of ketosis and autophagy. Ketosis is where the body shifts gears and starts using fat as a fuel source rather than glucose. And then the autophagy is where we start getting into cleaning house inside the body. Autophagy is characterized by the body going into a cleaning state, self-cleaning state, to rid the body of dead and dysfunctional cells, reduce inflammation. So that's going to be really critical in terms of the day after, and then also the day after, sauna use. You will dump a lot of water. Your body will produce something called heat shock proteins, which are restorative and will repair the body. So that's the stuff to do in the acute. I drank too much. I went to the wedding. How do I fix it the next day and get my face back to its baseline? Now, prolonged alcohol use, we're going to see something different. I want to draw your attention to this infographic. And if you look at this infographic, you're going to see right underneath the eye right here, very close to the eyelid itself, you're going to see that dark line, that's bladder. Below that, that lighter blue, is kidney. Kidney and bladder is the water element system. Now, you might be asking, well, why are we looking at this area? Because Gray, isn't the liver hit when we drink? Absolutely it is. But the way to think about this is we're going to see liver disharmony actually show up here, and the way we make sense of that is the 5-element wheel. Fire, earth, metal, water, and wood. Water moves into wood because water nourishes wood. Water nourishes plant life. When the liver is taxed by alcohol, that wood element, because it inhibits fluid metabolism, the liver is not going to do its job very well, and as a result of that, that fluid is going to start to back up into the water element system, which means we're going to see an excess or an overflow in the water element area. So what we see with prolonged alcohol use is these puffy bags that will fill up right underneath the eye. They look like big, pillowy, demonstrative sacs to the point where you're looking at someone and they stand out. Now you might be looking at my face and you're like, Gray, are you a heavy alcohol user because you have these pillowy spots under your eyes? Mine are not pathological for a couple reasons. One, from the time I was a little kid, I have had these. The reason for that is I have very big frontal set eyes. I have big eyeballs and they move to the front. So any person with big eyes like myself is usually going to have this just by default. That's not pathological. But when we start to see those big ones, big pillowy sacs, that's where we want to pay attention. The next one is in that area, you'll see lots of little fine lines showing up here that will kind of look dry and decrepit, and they will actually kind of crack down this way when a person is not smiling. You'll see these little tiny lines kind of come down over towards the cheekbone. That's not good. This is where the liver is basically backed up and it's bleeding in reverse back to that water element and kidney system. And the last little thing you'll see are these little tiny white nodules. They look like little tiny mini pimples. And you can sort of think of that as heat toxin in the liver that has backed up and is now trying to make its way out of the water element system. So if you're seeing these marks, it's not the end of the world. What it means is your body needs some serious cleaning though. The liver needs to be cleaned. So how do we do that? It's still going to be fasting, but for longer periods of time. A short fast is 24 to 36 hours with A prolonged fast, we're looking at 2 to 7 days. That 48-hour mark, that 60-hour mark, 72, 96, 120, 168 hours, where we get in and we really clean house. Now, if you are fasting for prolonged periods, you need to get a quality salt-based electrolyte. Santa Cruz Paleo on Amazon is an excellent company. I recommend them. I take that, but you need to be salt-based electrolyte. Don't get an electrolyte that doesn't have quality salt in it. So you need to do that while you're fasting because your body will lose a lot of its electrolytes during that time. Now, the next one is, outside of fasting, is eating liver. Raw lamb liver or raw beef liver is the best. If you can't do that, mildly cook it, but try to have it rare. And if you can't stomach that, get raw desiccated or dried organs and do that. The reason for this, the compounds in liver are incredibly restorative to the liver itself. This is where that term in the East, like is good for like, comes from. This is also why they call liver nature's multivitamin. So liver is incredibly good. That's going to help you repair and get those back in order. The next one is exercise. So the liver and the kidney are two of the big powerhouses in the body that filter our blood. When we start vigorously moving and circulating the blood through the body, we're basically kind of like flooding the filtering systems and getting that blood to move through. And the more movement we have through these organs, specifically the kidney and the bladder, the more blood we have going through there, the more movement there is. And as they say in the East, life is movement. When blood gets too thick, it gets too congealed. This is where we have problems. So exercise, cardio, strength training, but like daily input of something, that's very important. Now, the next one is bloodletting. In modern times, this is called donating blood. And this is a little bit different for men and women. Women don't need to donate blood as much if they are in their menstruating years and their cycle is balanced and on point because they're losing blood every month. Anytime we lose blood, the body is forced to produce new blood, which means you've got new clean blood running through the system, which is going to be beneficial. So if a woman has had very real bouts of prolonged alcohol use, they can still donate blood, but if they're menstruating, it's also going to be mitigated by that. They don't have to do it as much. Now for men, because we do not bleed every month, men in general, okay, even if you're not trying to reverse alcohol intake symptoms and whatnot, it's still good for men. It helps reduce iron, it makes our blood thinner, but for men, because we don't bleed, we've got to basically change the oil. It's like changing the oil in our vehicle. It's no different. You've got to get that old blood out so the body produces new blood. This is how we get new, fresh blood moving through the filtering systems, and this is going to help address this. So I have seen people who have had these markers, the prolonged alcohol use markers under the eyes, and when they start doing some of these things over the course of anywhere from 3 months to a year, if they're consistent with their rhythms, this area starts to clean up. So you want to pay attention to this. You want to have some kind of baseline to address this because your face, again, is sort of a visual marker for what's going on inside of your body, and you don't want to leave things unchecked. It's very important that we take care of our health because in the end, face reading is about life nourishment and longevity. You want to use the face as a barometer to see what the hell is going on, how do I fix it, and how can I live my most optimal life given the features on my face. So those are the big ideas to consider. If you have any questions, comments, whatever, please put them down below and I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks.